Serious, what is the scariest thing to happen to you when you've been home alone? Someone tried to break into my neighbor's house while I was babysitting their kids. I was 15 and I used to babysit for my neighbors down the block. They had a really nice house. 3 floors with a built-in garage under the house that connected to the basement. It was the family's most used entrance of the house and they rarely locked the basement door as long as the garage was closed. They also had a type of security system where anytime a door opens you heard beep beep beep. After the parents left one night I was putting the kids to bed and I heard the beep beep beep. I yelled out, thinking it was the parents coming back for something, but no one answered. The system on the wall kept reading basement door open. I was freaked out so I called my dad and asked him to come by since he was only a few houses away. When he arrived, he told me to stay in the kitchen while he checked the house, but before he could, we heard the beep 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 again and then the garage door opened. When we ran to the window to see if the parents were pulling into the driveway, they weren't. Instead someone in a hoodie was running out of the garage door and into the woods behind the house. My dad ended up calling the cops. I'm still creeped out by it. So did the parents never close the garage door? I'm not OP, but I'd guess they hid in the garage when it was open earlier. Then after they left they'd have free access to the house. But thought everyone would be gone. I was in my basement where the computer was playing some game, probably RuneScape, and heard someone pull into the driveway, naturally assuming it was my mother who was coming home from work. I heard the screen door open, but when no one opened the lock on the actual door I started to go upstairs and I saw a pair of legs go by the window, while the basement was underground. There was about a foot that popped up above ground level and had 2 windows. I go upstairs and see 2 dudes in my backyard looking at the windows and talking about the door was locked. It was an attempted home robbery. We had been broken into a few times at that point and had everything locked, but 10-year-old me was terrified. When I was around 8 or 9, my mum commuted to a major city about an hour/hour and a half away, so I would bring myself home from school, about 100 meters away, lock the door and watch cartoons or play Neopets until she got home. We lived in apartment blocks, and one day one of the older male people in the apartment lost his wallet, and he figured it must have been me. Keep in mind, I've never stolen anything in my life or had any trouble with the law, and I had no clue what he was talking about. He came and banged on the door so aggressively that I jumped out of my skin, and was belligerent demanding I open the door. I rang mum crying and she jumped on a train to come home, but she was an hour and a half away. She called some friends and they came and got me, and at that stage he had taken a break and gone back to his apartment, but left his dry cleaning there. When mum got back, she stormed straight to his door and pounded on it like he had done to our door. He came to the door, all shocked, and she demanded to know why he thought it was appropriate to bang on the door for an hour to scare a little girl. He replied that he thought I stole his wallet. Mum asked him if he still thought I did, and he said no, I found it in the car park. She looked like she wanted to kill him, and forced him to apologize. Also, in that same apartment block, there was a hairline fracture on the sliding door that we didn't know about. A strong wind blew and shattered the entire window inwards. I was home alone then too. That was scary as frick. As a mom, that ride home to save your child would be torture. I'm sure she was relieved that you were okay and certainly released a lot of pent-up anxiety on him and was probably a relief. That guy sounds like a raging piece of shit. You should have called the cops on him. Knowing my mindset when I was 8 or 9, I would have never done that. In that age you experience adults tending to believe adults, not children. So an adult accusing you of stealing would be believed by cops and then they'd arrest you, instead of him. At least that's what I would have thought at 8. Not super scary, but one time when I was like 11 I was home alone at night and got a call from the local sheriff's office who told me they just had a drop 911 call from this number, my house landline, and asked if I was okay. I didn't call them. Nobody else was home to call them. I don't know, it just creeped me out a lot. When I was home alone with my little sister, at the time I was probably 12 or 13 and my mum had just ran to the store for milk. These cops showed up at my door and asked if they could come inside to look around. I was a kid and confused, so I said okay. And they later told my mum that the house across the street was just broken into and the man had not been caught, and they were led to believe he was hiding out on a different property somewhere. So they thought this grown man was hiding in my garage or backyard while I was home alone with my sister. My mum never left the house without us again when we were kids. That's scary. When my son was a baby, I left him with his usual babysitter. It was 4th of July and she was standing at her sliding back door holding my son and watching fireworks. Suddenly a man burst through her front door, ran through the house and right past her out the back door and over the fence. Cops soon followed. She never left her front door unlocked again. Dude, I thought the cops were not actually cops or something and you guys let in 2 strangers in your house. This reminds me of a story my boss told me. Years ago she was babysitting her little brother and cousin. She had gone to her bedroom in the basement to grab something and realized all her things on the windowsill had been knocked over onto her bed. She asked her brother about why he would do that and he said he wasn't in her room, but she didn't believe him. She got the boys ready for bed in the bathroom by helping them brush their teeth and whatnot, all while chatting to them. A few days later her parents got a call from the police asking about details of that night, what my boss had been doing, things she said to her brother and cousin, etc. Turns out a convict had escaped the nearby prison and broke into their home while hiding from police. He was behind the shower curtain the entire time and told police this, including details of the conversation my boss had with her brother and cousin in the bathroom. She says she always opens shower curtains whenever she goes now, lol. I was actually at a friend's house when her parents weren't home. We were maybe 10. It was her, my sister, her sisters and me. We decided to go swimming. There had been a rash of burglaries lately, but mostly garages being broke into. Anyway, we were in the pool when we noticed the kitchen light turn on. It was evening. We assumed her parents so looked in the window to do something stupid to get their attention when we realized we do not know the individual in the house. We hid behind the wall of the pool, above ground, terrified until her parents finally came home. It appeared as though he got spooked as he only ransacked the kitchen and left the garage door wide open when fleeing. The thought of an absolute stranger going through your home is absolutely unnerving. Or, I've experienced that firsthand. Pretty freaky. They also took my freaking Hot Pockets. I started choking on a clump of Yikes. Only survived because I tripped and fell on the couch in such a way that it dislodged the candy. I was nearly killed then saved by being a klutz. I heard gunshots when I was home alone for the first time as a 12-year-old. Turns out my neighbor was a murderer. At least 12 cop cars and like 2 fire trucks showed up and I thought it was the end of the world. Like a frequent murderer or he murdered someone. Either way, yikes. The lights turned off all at once while I was in the kitchen. It was pitch black. I heard the door open. For some reason, instead of thinking power outage, my brain went to someone has cut the power and is coming to kill me. I grabbed the landline, the knife and was crouched behind the kitchen counter hearing steps come through the house, trying to breathe as quietly as possible. Then I hear my mum go, "Hello? Anyone home?" The power went out by chance at the exact moment she came in the door. That would have been an awkward hospital trip. Just imagine walking into your own house not knowing that a family member is about to stab you from the dark. If the power goes out and the door opens, you have every right to believe there's a home invasion. My girlfriend and I both travel a lot for work, pre-COVID, so it's not unusual for only one of us to be home on any given week. Last fall she was in San Francisco and I was home alone for a few days. We live in an apartment on the top floor of a building. Above us is a roof with a deck available to everyone. Middle of the night I get up to use the bathroom and on the walk back to bed I look over to the study. There's a sliding door in the study leading to a balcony. I immediately stop dead in my tracks. I see the outline of a person standing on my balcony, facing me. I run over, hit the lights, grab a knife from the knife block and start dialing 911. The person is a kid, no more than 16. He sees me hit the lights, grab a knife and my phone, and he immediately grabs the railing on my balcony and flings himself over. I run over, assuming I just watched someone kill themselves, only to see him safe and sound on the balcony below me. He then hurdles off that balcony. He's jumping from floor to floor. He hits the parking lot in the back of our building safely and then sprints off. Cops finally come and break up a party on the roof. Turns out he was just a drunk friend of someone on the second floor and got dared to do it. Also, shout out to my dog for being asleep 15 feet from the balcony and not doing anything. Also, shout out to my dog for being asleep 15 feet from the balcony and not doing anything. I have cameras at the entrances to my house. About 10 years ago people broke into the house while we weren't home. When I reviewed the recordings, you see the back door get blasted open by a sledgehammer. Then you see my dog run up, tail wagging. The burglars started petting him. He brought them his favorite toy. Then they moved off camera. I then saw his favorite toy fly past the camera, and then off camera. Then I saw my dog run for it. He played fetch with them. The last thing they did before they left the house was struggle to close the door while pushing my dog back in the house. He still wanted to play. He wasn't a guard dog though. He loved everybody. He was really awesome with my daughter, and that's what counts. This is not a horror story. It's a story of good burglars. They did rob you, but they had the heart not to leave your dog outside. I always hope that if anyone breaks into my house, they at least leave the doors closed so my animals don't escape. I don't really have anything worth taking to be honest, but still hope they don't let my animals escape. Your dog sounds like he was a great boy. I'm guessing a lab or a retriever, and mine is just sleepy. She sleeps 20 hours a day. She will go apeshit if the UPS guy knocks on the door though. I guess this guy didn't make enough noise for her to wake up. Even when I ran to get a knife and my phone, she didn't get up, just stared at me like I was disturbing her. Subscribe and click the notification bell to get the best of British.